MSW also, and not only that, Department of Political Science also. And Department of Political Science has to take the help of the department of this department. Madam Anjali has to ready to help the Department of Social Work, MSW, even the Languages Department also. Now, Languages Department has to study, has to make syllabus on family and community sciences, because now the world is telling, we are believing language is a science, mathematics is a social science. Social sciences are embodied with family and community sciences. Not only NEP, much before NEP, we came to know the difficulty of choosing specialization, studying specialization. And at the same time, another point, migration of economically and social backward communities in India. Not only, Corona has shown us the way how communities of India, rural people, economically backward communities, socially backward communities, tribal people, hilly people, why they are migrating to urban localities, and urban locality, how they are expanding by including these migrating poor people. Now the Faculty of Family and Community Sciences has to take up migration studies. Migration studies is a science. Migration studies is a imbalanced economy. Migration studies is a imbalanced, family science and imbalanced community science. Migration, it is only because of many times it is because of health inequities. Now we have to study, we have to make syllabus, we have to make even subjects. If we don't have department and subjects and expertise, maybe Symbiosis may be having the expertise, and we should be ready for MOU with Symbiosis or JNU or DU or TIS Mumbai or any IIT, NITs, ISES. This is how gates are open. I believe multiple exit and entry, even not only to students, not only to teachers, even to institutions. Even to institutions, we can have multiple entry on a subject. We can have a multiple exits on many subjects. By doing so, Professor Anjali Korola, even she can take it up, how Gujarati language is very much inclusive. Gujarati, songs, cultural ethos. I am just translating one book of Gujarati, which has been translated into Hindi. Now I am translating it into my mother tongue Kannada. That is Tribal Mahabharat. Gujarati Tribal Mahabharat. How they have, the tribals of Gujarat state, Gujarati language, they have seen Mahabharat as their own story, where you will be happy to know in one stage of Mahabharat here, tribal Mahabharat here, the one character speaking about the god raid, another one talking about the god preservation, according to tribal ethos, preservation is not at home, preservation at societal level. Rain is a contribution of God, forest is a contribution of God, Narmada Dam is a contribution of God, water is a contribution of God. What is my contribution in the development of this Sorovar, contribution of this water, contribution of this jungle, contribution of the shade, fruits, flowers. This is how tribal ethos are talking, and I could not, do anything for the development of jungle. I don't have any right to take anything from jungle. These ethos, especially, now migration studies has come up. Out of 100 migrating workers, 68.5% are tribes. More than out of 68.5, 40% tribes, they are all from jungle tribes, most hard geographical tribes. We can include migration studies in family and community sciences faculty also. We all know how our academia, how we universities, vice chancellors, deans, and our even scientists, social scientists neglected renewable energy sector. We never thought of a faculty of social sciences, faculty of languages can work on renewable energy, wind energy, solar energy. By doing so, how it can be helpful to academia, it can be helpful to students to make their future, helpful to make gram panchayats, they can make town panchayats, small municipalities, urban municipalities, corporations, to how we are spending money on importing energy, importing water, the water science. Even we can concentrate on water science, and one may say we don't have department. One may say no, we don't have any expertise. Need not to have an expertise, because all expertise are lying within us. I'm a professor of Hindi. Now I can work on, I can guide on renewable energy. It is only because of practice and learning from you all, learning from the expertise, learning from the world. We can work on this. I spoke about rainwater harvesting. This is another sector, most important sector, which is being neglected by academia, which is being neglected by, we thought rainwater harvestment, energy, renewable energy are the part of IITs, are the part of ICERs, are the part of triple ITs. Now NAP has guided us. No, it is even renewable energy, rainwater harvestment can be studied by language universities also, Sanskrit universities also. Sanskrit teacher can talk, can write, can guide on rainwater harvestment. I can guide an institution about how rainwater harvestment can be done with spending very minimum capital. Even sometimes by investing zero capital, we can utilize the infrastructure which is already available in the university, Sayajirao University. I am happy to talk about multidisciplinary system is a inclusive educational system. Specialization especially excludes the society, divide the society, because expertise, mathematical expertise, science expertise, chemical expertise, physical expertise, we can't see. Even English expertise, it's unable to, it's not possible to see in women from rural background. It's not possible to see these difficult expertise in transgenders. The study says the STs, SCs, women, all community women from hilly area, tribal area, geographically tough areas, why they are opting only geography, sociology, social studies, political science, sometimes economics, or state language, mother tongue language. Why they are choosing? Why they are not choosing energy? Why they are not selecting mathematical science? Why they are unable to cope up with physical science, or they are not cope up with other basic science? Now NEP talks about, yes, because of this, STEM education is lagging behind in India because of specialization. To break the problem, to go up with inclusivity, this multiple departments, multiple studies, 2 majors and 2 minors, and sometime, it's my belief, it is all 4 major subjects. Minor subject can be taken up as my goal of my life, or the 50% of minor and 50% of major, and we can take up another one add-on course or bridge course after office hours. If it is not available in Sayajirao Gaikwad University, we can take it up from any university institution, or abroad institution, from outside universities, through many sources. Now we need not to go to Pune to join Symbiosis. I need not to go to Baroda, Vadodara to join Sayajirao Gaikwad University. Now the ways they have opened, the gates are opened. Students and teachers, we are open to learn and open to teach and cope up with the modern challenges and opportunities. The upcoming challenges and opportunities in the health, health sectors, family sectors, as well as economical sectors. It's only possible through creating inclusive provisions in the education. And usually while making a syllabus, academia, we always think about the best brains of our society. Now NEP talks about, yes, we are supposed to talk about the best brains, but the studies says in India, the best brains are not here to serve the country. The best brains are always there in the world to serve the other people. The lost benchers, backbenchers, always be in our society, always be ready to help the society as well as academia. I have experience while establishing Indira Gandhi National Tribal University in Amarkantak. I could appoint 180 teachers. Out of them, 50 teachers were extraordinary, and I brought them from world-class labs from other countries. Within 2 years, out of 50, they left. 30 have left that tribal university. After the consequent appointments, I neglected the best brains, and I could appoint the brains who can make wonders in future. Now they are doing extremely well. With these few words, because this multiple entry and exit, actually it is a gateway to Skill India. If one girl has taken one subject out of 4 in BA first year, Hindi, in the second year she came to know, or she might have thought, no, I would have taken tribal language, and immediately she can opt for tribal language, or for example whole language, or missing language, a missing tribe of Assam. They have wonderful language called missing. She can take that language, and she can study. for example, missing expert or who expert, language expert is not available in our university, but they are available in many universities of northeastern states. By creating, by opening our gates and make exit and entry into other university, it's possible to study the Gujarati students, a girl student from Gujarati society, she can study, Lapcho language of the Himalayan tribe, which is most scientific tribal language. Because these are all supported by Academic Bank of Credit, which is supported by Digital Bank. By doing so, academia, by education and students will be more, they are strengthened. They should feel, they will be feeling, and they will be supported by the society and the academia, teachers and experts. And we'll be happy to know by within 1 year, we have just completed 1 year, by another within 1 year, we can see the result, how students are learning joyfully, that how classrooms are, even classroom, will be live of only 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, first 1, 2, 3 benches. Now from 1 to 100, everybody is learning joyfully, peacefully, and happily. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Anjali to give me an opportunity to learn from you all. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Professor Kattimani, for having enlightened us on this revolutionary introduction in university education that will pave way for multiple options to the youth of our country who have long battled systemic biases and dire situations under difficult economic conditions or for want of interest. Sir, your talk has been extremely informative for this audience. Thank you so much, sir. If we have any questions for Professor Kattimani, or somebody wants to comment.
Sir, would you be leaving us now at 4 o'clock? So you're on mute.
Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I think we could. No, I think we could have the next Shonima. We could start with the next speaker.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. May I now request Professor Komal Chauhan to introduce our next speaker, Professor Neelam Grewal, who is here to share with us her take on a multidisciplinary approach in higher education.
I'm sorry to the audience. I did try to unmute his audio, but was not possible. So anybody has any question for him or any doubts, we can post it and get the answers through email, and we can try to route it to you. Thank you. I welcome Professor Neelam Madam now. I'm so happy to introduce again Professor Neelam Madam, Vice-Chancellor, Guru Kashi University at Bhatinda, Punjab. She is an alumni of Faculty of Family and Community Sciences. She has 40 years of experience in various capacities. To mention a few, she is a member of Punjab Public Service Commission and Dean Post-Graduation Studies. She has more than 200 publications and 1 patent to her credit. She has commercialized 2 technologies and has been consultant to UNFPA. Dr. Grewal was instrumental in getting the institution upgraded and creation of an international platform for gender in agricultural culture partnership at India Hub. She has been appointed as a chairperson and member of various committees at the national level. She has also been a member of Task Force on Micronutrients, Indian Council of Medical. She has been a team leader of Joint Review Mission of Ministry of Human Resource Development to review the implementation of midday meal service in several states of our country. By joining as Vice-Chancellor at Guru Kashi University, she has the distinction of being the first woman Vice-Chancellor of the country. I also am happy to share that I was also working with her at the National Executive Committee at Home Science Association of India and has learned a lot. Madam, we look forward again for a few more learnings with regard to multidisciplinary approach. Welcome, Madam.
The Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Vyas, Professor Chakrabarti, Professor Karolia, my fellow speakers, Professor Kattimani and Professor Patankar, and my fraternity from MS University, Baroda. It's always a pleasure to connect to all of you. Just one correction, Komal, please. I'm not the first women Vice-Chancellor. That was Hansa Ben in the country. I am the first women Vice-Chancellor to have come out of the National Agricultural Research and Education System. That's a parallel stream in agricultural education. And Dr. Karolia, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. And Professor Vyas, thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity to connect to my alma mater. Now, coming to this particular topic on the multidisciplinary education and implementation of multidisciplinary education and holistic education. When Dr. Karolia contacted me for this, we started discussing that, you know, we were lucky that we unknowingly imbibed the educational streams and educational institutions where both these things, multidisciplinary approach, which, you know, results into a holistic development of the students, was already in practice. You know, both of us had that ideal combination of having done our graduations from state agricultural universities and coming to the very well-known Maharaja Sayajirao University for our postgraduate studies. So, and you know, home science, if we critically see it, call it home science, we in ICR used to call it community science now, and family and community studies, whatever avatar you call it. It has so much of multidisciplinary essence into its core that you cannot separate any one discipline from the other if you want to separate it in any of the 5 domains of home science. And but here I'll be dealing with the broader aspects of multidisciplinary education that leads to holistic development, basically how we can implement it and a few approaches to its implementation. I will not go into what is multidisciplinary education. We all know that, you know, it allows exploration of distinct subjects, curricula of various disciplines, and basically relies on combination of knowledge and theories and methodologies of different subjects to develop a meaningful whole again, rediscovering the various disciplines to create something which is unique in itself. And how does it lead to holistic development or holistic education? Call it whatever you want to call, because, you know, first of all, it gives flexibility and adaptability to the stakeholders, that is the students. And first of all, the teachers, because, you know, multidisciplinary means you have a bouquet. You can choose whatever flowers you want to choose. You have to, first of all, before choosing the flowers, you have to, you know, focus on the kind of essence which you want, or the color which you want, the emphasis which you want to create. So you have to know the outcome which you want, and then choose that those specific things from a bouquet. And in that process, you know, the students as well as the faculty, they become flexible and adaptable. Why? Because you know, you learn to respect other contexts. For example, you know, since I had to deal with hardcore agricultural scientists all the time, who would say only the lab experiments are research, and social science research is not research at all. You know, throughout my professional life in the NAERS, I had to, Ruplekha is here, I think Ruplekha, you can connect to me on that. So it's because, you know, they were looking at the research only from the hardcore scientist's point of view, only from a plant breeder's point of view, or only from a chemist's point of view. But what we were looking at, for example, in home science, what we were looking at was the nutritional aspect of something, which would mean we were looking at the biochemistry, biochemistry, microbiology, physiology, and a lot many other subjects. So along with that, we were looking at the economic paying capacity of the you know, family. We were looking at the cultural ethos of that particular culture, whether women is always the last one to eat, or can she have something, you know, before the whole family finishes the meal, or is there a gender bias in serving the food also? So there were sociological aspects, there were economic aspects. Or coming to my own domain of clothing and textiles, we have both. We have hardcore textile chemistry, textile finishing on one side, and on the other hand, we have costumes, we have social psychological aspects of clothing. And if somebody is working in that particular, you know, subdomain of sociology or anthropology or psychology, the agricultural scientist would say, where is the research in this? So flexibility and adaptability comes only when you are aware of different contexts or environments or microenvironments, when you start appreciating and respecting those contexts. And later, adaptability is really when you start using those contexts, or you start looking at things through the lenses which the knowledge of those contexts provides you. So the holistic development or holistic education takes us towards flexibility, adaptability, then problem solving and developing analytical abilities. I will not go into that because that is something which everybody understands. Then it offers, you know, through all these, it offers a solution to a problem in the form of synthesizing. There is some kind of synthesis, which is, you know, putting the whole consolidated learning from different disciplines into use to convey an idea, to create something new, to solve a problem, to develop a new process, or whatever any kind of innovation. There are other things also, you know, which we learn, but I will not go into that. I mean, the underlining context of this is that, you know, it widens our perspective. It gives us a richer view, and, you know, it helps us in ultimately making flexible career choices also, like Dr. Kattimani was saying. You know, there is an option in NEP now that even if you have something as an add-on subject, or you know, a sporting subject, but you you earn some credits for it, and then you can enter into masters in that particular stream. You know, it's like increasing the mobility also beyond a certain discipline. And then next comes, how do we implement it? It's easy for us in family and community sciences to say that it's not a difficult concept. But, you know, coming to the domains of knowledge where, as I said, there is a limitation, coming to basic sciences, who may be asked to, you know, apply their knowledge of basic sciences along with economics in some developmental project. It may be difficult for them to develop a, you know, multidisciplinary approach. Though these days, most of the international agencies are also looking for multidisciplinary teams for undertaking any kind of research, be it basic sciences also. So when we come to implementing it, we have to see what kind of situation or what kind of outcomes we want, and what is the kind of multidisciplinary approach which we want to use, or what are the kind of resources in that multidisciplinary domain which are available with us as an institution, as a faculty, as an institution, maybe as a cluster of institutions. Though these days geographical limits are not limiting factors anymore, but still, you know, sometimes those, especially in laboratories and all, the cluster approach for this would be much better than standalone approach. So when we come to this, do we want an interdisciplinary approach, which is fusion of ideas, which is understanding of theories, or which is understanding of knowledge or skills of various disciplines, and all those are used to highlight something, to create a fusion, which could be, you know, a research problem. I'll give the examples later, but then it could be parallel disciplines going side by side, where you pick up something from basic sciences, you pick up something from applied sciences, and another thing from the basket of humanities. And you know, you address a curriculum, you create a curriculum, you address a problem or a research, and then it could be a theme-based unit, which is more of transdisciplinary approach. You know, you have to do something on livelihood. Then how do you, Professor Kattimani talked about migration. We can take that. He explained it so beautifully. So same is the case with a number of, with livelihood, and there are a number of other things also. But when we come to, these are the, you know, choices which are there in the multidisciplinary approach. Which of these choices we want to pick up would basically depend on what are the outcomes we are looking for. What are the goals which we are looking for? And this could be implemented, as I said, through portfolio of different subjects, giving the students a wider choice in the curriculum. And it could, home science, as I said, is one very good example of it. All the developmental studies, they are again very good examples of this approach. Same way, you know, if you have to undertake any environmental studies, you say, you take example of environmental studies. Here, it would be, you have botany, you have zoology, you have chemistry. Along with that, what do you have? You have forestry, you have soil sciences, agronomy, you study biodiversity as well. It could be through biochem, or it could be through microbiology, or both. And then we have something called economic botany. You know, you have to have either the knowledge of anthropology or economics married to the these basic and applied sciences, so that you learn to have the value of those environmental studies. Because these days, whatever research is undertaken, whatever studies are, I mean, for the academic curriculum as well, we try to convert it into what is the social cost of this operation. So for that, economics has to, per se, it comes into picture by itself whenever you have to calculate social impact or social cost of the whole exercise. And of course, there are other indices also to be used in this. Then second, if you want to run multidisciplinary parallel streams to strengthen as I said, to consolidate the knowledge towards a specific goal. It could be, as Dr. Kattimani had also mentioned, you have the majors in all the agricultural education streams. You know, we in ICR had this approach. All the state agricultural universities have this approach of having a major field, we have a minor field, and we have sporting fields also. Sometimes we have split minors also, depending on what kind of research problem the student is going to get, or where, apart from the domain specific knowledge of specialization, what are the other knowledge domains which will strengthen the student's approach to address the research problem. Here, you know, ideally, once I was asked, what is your lesson which you have learned from Green Revolution? And for me, it was a social scientist's answer, and it was not, which perhaps I did, you know, it didn't gel well with the agricultural scientists, but I said I would definitely put more economists, I would definitely have put more sociologists and anthropologists as well as psychologists into those teams, because that would have taken care of our, you know, the sudden explosion of disposable income which the farmers had, which led to little, you know, unrealistic aspirations, ultimately disillusionment, ultimately farmers' suicides, and then the families coping with the exit of the breadwinner, and you know, dealing with the trauma of the exit, the kind of exit that person sought, and the socio-economic problems and the stigma which came with that. So that is the kind of approach, or that is the kind of society we have to envision or not envision when we choose any kind of multidisciplinary approach. The next one is, what is your research theme? It's totally a theme-based approach to multidisciplinary education. what do you want out of, when you give the student, or when you write a project and you choose your research team, what are the outcomes? I talked about livelihoods. So like, since I headed that Women's Institute, so livelihood is one of my pet areas. Livelihoods, I would attach it to the sociology of the cultural, the sociological aspects, the cultural anthropologist view on that, the agricultural scientist view on that. I mean, if it's a farm woman or a farm family, agricultural scientists in terms of the kind of agricultural practices which they had adopted, or what are the technologies or alternatives which are available. Then marketing, perhaps it's not the individual marketing. I am more for cluster approach to these things in villages, because cost of transportation, price negotiations, etc., get taken care of when the group is larger. So marketing, logistics, from the management point of view, both. Then it would be, we are talking about livelihood. I will take care of the nutrition team into that. Then if we want to increase the kind of livelihood opportunities the family has, maybe skill generation into that. So it is the theme-based approach to multidisciplinary education or research. Then, another approach which agricultural universities have been following, again, is, research. When I say research, I earlier meant the funded research, the extramural research, or even the intramural research also, but by the academicians and the faculty. But when we talk about postgraduate research also, we in agricultural universities would have, instead of a single person guiding the students, we had a team of 4 to 5 members, which would represent the major domain of the student, 2 persons from that, the major advisor and the minor advisor. Then an advisor from the minor field of the student, an advisor, minor field, there would be a statistician in all the committees. Then along with that, if any advisor or the committee itself felt that, no, we need to have another person from this field, say it was something to do with soil microbiology, and then suddenly people realize we do need a biochemist also on board. So there could be another person. There was allowance for flexibility was there to take more people, more experts on board, so that whatever the student is, research, especially in PhD, whatever the student is going to resolve, is all the dimensions get taken care of. So that is the specific committee, or the, especially for say postgraduate research, this is a very good approach. Then lastly, application of ICT or IT into whatever domains we are talking about. Dr. Kattimani talked about languages. Last week I was there, in a function where an IT platform was being inaugurated, and then one of the poets over there, poets are very passionate about their language, and he said, Punjabi koi nahi bolta hai, so it is going to become extinct, this, that, blah, blah. And then I, in my address, I said, no, you have, you can see the life of the language also. You can see for how long this language will live, how we can, make that language live through AI. You apply AI, you apply algos for how languages had lived, and you have the historic data, and you can come up with a few models with the application of artificial intelligence, where you can, kind of predict the life of a language as well. So those are some of the areas and approaches which you can have in the multidisciplinary education. And then there are a few factors which, which affect the approach. These are the factors which basically are the framing factors to the basket, as I said, and then there are shaping factors. The framing factors, I call them 3 C's. These are the culture, institutional culture. Then there are collaborations, and through these two, what is the kind of curriculum that you design? So those are the framing factors. And for this, for framing factors, you have to have a shared vision of all the whole multidisciplinary team. It's not that, since I'm the Vice, I suddenly have a fancy, I have to design a multidisciplinary course, and I tell my management person that you have to design it. It can't be like that. I will have to see what is the aim with which, or what are the kind of outcomes which I envisage from that exercise, and I will call the teams according to that, and then maybe, introduce them, share my vision with them, and then leave them to brainstorm how they can come up with what they come up with, and then ultimately fine tune the whatever is the exercise they undertake. Then the shaping factors. When I say shaping factors, first of all, is your faculty competent of undertaking the exercise which they want to undertake? What are the values and aims of that particular curriculum? Do you think they cater to the students' interest, students' needs, the needs of that particular geographical region, or the contemporary issues which you think are there or which may emerge? You have to have, because perhaps what the difference between a leader and a dynamic leader is that you have to see into the future, what's going to be the future of the things to come, and then prepare yourself beforehand. Lastly, all the universities at this point of time do not have the resources in terms of faculty, in terms of manpower, in terms of infrastructure and equipment, etc., to deliver this multidisciplinary education. So what do you do? If it is a standalone institution, I'm sure by now it already is into that. If they are a strong standalone institutions, as I said about state agricultural universities, or where the leadership was always leadership was blessed with this kind of foresight to develop their institutions to cater to what things are panning out now, or what they would be panning out into. Or you have to have the cluster approach. But I see more future in cluster approach of collaborations and networking, where institutions can come up and share their resources. Now we're talking about virtual labs also, not only talking about, there are already in engineering, a lot of virtual labs are already existing. MIT has the whole lab put on open source. You can use it, you can play with it. So I see more future into collaborations and cluster developments as far as multidisciplinary approach is concerned. Lastly, I would like one more thing I didn't share, that is about experiential learning. You know, Ruplekha, you would remember, we all have, you know, state agricultural universities in the country. They started establishing experiential learning units in their colleges. And that was where the students, since our students were already being trained into entrepreneurship, so the institutions were allotted a few projects. Either it could be bakery and confectionery, it could be, you know, an apparel manufacturing unit, it could be an apiary unit, or that the fertilizers unit, small little micro biological fertilizers, biofertilizers. So all those units were established. The students were taught how to, you know, kind of run it as an enterprise. And whatever sales were there, whatever profits were there, they were shared with the students. A bit of it was kept in the kitty of the department concerned, but I think nearly 70% of the profits were shared with the students. So that is again a very hands-on multidisciplinary training which the students were given. So those are just a few random thoughts on multidisciplinary approach. Thanks a lot, Professor Vyas and Professor Karolia, for giving me this opportunity. Always a pleasure to connect to MSU. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. For long, educational transaction has been misconceived as learning disciplines compartmentalized under streams in silos, thereby blocking a student's concept formation due to lack of connections. This new policy will now see more students prepared to research with a clear understanding of concepts. Thanking you, ma'am, for having offered reliefs to students through that detailed talk on the foundational principles of learning. Thank you so much, ma'am. Request to the participants, if you could type your questions in the chat box, then at the end, we could take up a few questions. In the meanwhile, we'll have the next presentation. When Gandhiji mentioned holistic education long back, it was never essentially made viable in our education system. But the new NEP professes importance on completeness in character formation through education. And Dr. Anita Patankar from the Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts is here to share amidst us her views on this key topic. I now request Professor Komal Chauhan to introduce Dr. Patankar.
Professor Neelam, ma'am, my apologies to the audience also. I just forgot to read that line. She is a first woman chancellor, vice chancellor at National Agriculture Research and Education System, NARES. Sorry for that. Thank you, ma'am. And now we go to Dr. Anita Patankar, our next distinguished speaker. She is director at Symbiosis School of Liberal Arts at Symbiosis International, deemed university at Pune. Dr. Patankar has more than 28 years experience in various capacities. She is also Deputy Director of Symbiosis Center of International Education. She is a trustee and board member of ECONET, an NGO working for the development of tribal groups. She is Alliance of Asian Liberal Arts Universities and a founder member and India's only member at the university. She has taught courses in marketing and consumer behavior at various institutes of Symbiosis, with many sort of courses like advertising and contemporary culture. She has headed the Department of Marketing at the Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, where she is superheaded India's first Institute for Liberal Arts, the Symbiosis Center for Liberal Arts, as well as the Center for International Initiatives. She has co-authored 3 textbooks in marketing and business administration. Dr. Patankar has edited several books for Symbiosis Center for Distance Learning and taught marketing at the PG and MBA level, in addition to conducting workshops on communication, learning pedagogies, and personality development. Over to you, madam.
Thank you so much. Honorable Vice-Chancellor, MSU, Professor Vyas, Dr. Anjali, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Neelam. I think Kattimani sir has left, but Honorable Vice-Chancellor and members of MS University, it's a huge privilege for me to be invited by your esteemed university and to give me an opportunity to share my experiences with multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary education in the past, I would say 16 or 17 years. I have been teaching since 1982, and it's only since 2003, 2004 that actually I feel refreshed and valuable in terms of helping students, I think, look at education with a very fresh perspective and look at education as something that not only enriches their soul and their mind, but also helps them look at the world very differently, to look at the world as contributors to solutions. So my short little presentation to you is based on all my experiences. As I told Dr. Anjali, I am more than happy to share what we have tried, what has worked. As we go along, I'll tell you what didn't work, because you wouldn't want to reinvent the wheel and make the same mistakes that we have made. But I'm absolutely happy to be able to share. I'm going to try, I'm old-fashioned in that sense, that I'm going to try and share my PPT. I hope you can see this. Can you see this? Yeah, and I'm not going to go full screen, because when I go full screen, then I can't see all of you. So it's important for me to see you as well. So I hope this is okay for you. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. So Dr. Anjali gave me a nice white canvas. And Dr. Anjali, let me also tell you that, when you give a teacher a mic, then it's very difficult to stop them. So do wave your hand whenever you feel that, I'm running out of time. So I thought that this is a picture we often use at SIU whenever we want to talk about multidisciplinarity. That you look at a tree, just very similar to the ecosystem that we provide, not only our students, but also our faculty and staff members, in terms of huge variety, huge diversity. For SIU, this is part of who we are, because as a university, we were set up for African and Asian students. So in the city of Pune, which was a very traditionally, conventionally, very strong social reforms, academic organizations over here and institutions over here. Suddenly in the 60s and 70s, when we had this influx of about 5,000 foreign students, many from African nations, the landscape in the city changed. And it takes time for people to get used to diversity. It takes time for people to look out of the box and think. SIU was established at that time, and therefore for us, we can't be a tree that has only one kind of leaf or one kind of fruit. This is our goal. When I read the National Education Policy, I felt blessed. I'm almost near the end of my career because of age. And therefore, I felt blessed that for the past now 36 years and now maybe a couple more, I've seen the Indian higher education landscape go through a lot of change. 1991 brought in a lot of change, computers brought in a lot of change. And now it's as if Indian higher education is coming of age. You watch these Hollywood and Bollywood movies and they'll tell you this is a story, this is a love story, which is the coming of age love story. And I felt as if, finally, not just students, faculty, staff can look forward to something that's exciting, something that is enriching. And therefore, to me, the NEP is a great document. I fell in love with many parts of the NEP. It resonated with us because what we tried doing many years ago is exactly what the NEP talks about. So very briefly, what I'm going to do, and Honorable Vice-Chancellor Neelam Grewal said that this is something that we all know, but I want to share this because this is an exercise we did. So within Symbiosis, the Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts, was based on the Symbiosis Center for Liberal Arts. In 2002, 2003, the Chancellor to put together a task force to look at the concept of liberal arts and can Symbiosis explore the possibility of setting up a liberal arts program. I was blessed to be a part of that. And then based on that, 2005, 2006, we set up the center. And the whole idea of transdisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity was something that was new to us in that sense, to create an entire program structure and an ecosystem. And therefore we said, it's very difficult, right? The lines between, economics and business economics. Is it the same discipline or is it different? Is it more business or is it more economics? Do you have a business faculty and an economics faculty sitting together and designing it? Or is an economics person designing the course? But then it gets taught at an MBA program in a very different way. So that thin line is sometimes too thin, sometimes too thick. And we decided we needed to have some clarity. So what we did is that we looked at a concept that I'd like to share with you today, and which is called interdisciplinary distance. So we said that whenever we're looking at courses, and we have subcommittees to approve course outlines and revisions in course outlines, we would look at the distance between disciplines. So disciplines like biology and chemistry, those examples that I've given you, when you look at them epistemologically, they are closer to each other. Why? So we said, keep it simple so that everybody understands, right? So they employ quantitative, methodologies when it comes to research. They use a lot of, in-hand laboratory techniques. So they're closer to each other. If on the other hand, you look at, let's say, biology and literature or biology and history, biology and anthropology, then they're farther away because their methods, of collecting data, of, analyzing data, research methods, how they collect and share, knowledge, these are more different. So ethnographic, qualitative versus quantitative. So we said, let's look at distance. And the minute you feel the distance is growing, then we shall assume that this needs to be taken care of by a different group of faculty. Okay, this is something, of course, that we all know. Multidisciplinarity, never the twain shall meet. My husband went to an engineering college and he loved to tell me that, I've studied psychology. I said, really? He said, yeah, I went to an engineering college and in year one, we had this psychology course. I said, so the psychology course, was it taught to you in a way that you would understand its applications in engineering? And he said, no, the teacher didn't. The teacher was a psychologist. She came and she taught, but it was up to us to draw connections. The teacher's not drawing connections. The course outline is not helping you draw connections, right? Interdisciplinarity, on the other hand, is where two people sit together. So for example, when you look at a gender course, I think Dr. Anjali's department has a lot of these courses, right? Whether it's climate change, whether it's gender, these are courses that by nature, environmental science, that are interdisciplinary, bringing together a large... I think someone's, maybe just mute the speakers. I tend to get a little distracted, sorry, thanks. And transdisciplinary. So for us, transdisciplinary was important. And I want to draw a quick example. So Pune, where we are located, decided years ago that it wanted a metro. So we wanted a smart city project, and we also had this huge metro. And the metro was going to go past the neighborhoods in which Symbiosis has campuses. So therefore, we offered, we have an MBA program, we have many institutes. We have an urban development, an MA in urban development. We also have a energy and environment. We have an infrastructure management, and then the school for liberal arts, etc. So we said that, you know, if you have people in this team who come from a variety of disciplines, so you have a psychology major, and you have someone who's doing architecture, and someone who's doing engineering, and then you bring in practitioners from the government or, you know, the local government. You bring in NGOs that are working with all those workers who are going to get displaced. So you bring all of them together, and then you look at it not as disciplinary perspectives, but you look at it in terms of how do I solve these challenges that the city of Pune is going to face and the citizens of Pune are going to face, and how can I do it so that there's minimum amount of disruption. And our responsibility is minimum amount of disruption for the people who have the least voice in decision making. So when that goes in, so whether it's at the workplace or whether it's in academics, when you are able to bring all of this together and you look at it from the point of, you know, problem solving, then we believe, and again, this is what we have understood for ourselves, that it would be a transdisciplinary way of working. The liberal arts program is, in essence, a transdisciplinary program. So when we looked at the NEP, we realized that we were capable of helping other institutes within Symbiosis to make sure that their programs, you know, are multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary wherever possible. In fact, we just completed, you know, a project with SIU itself, because while the School for Liberal Arts is completely interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, so many other programs are traditionally run programs over there. Now, what did we do? And this is what I'd like to share with you from this slide onwards. So one of the best places to start is to do an assessment. Where are we? So assess all your programs, assess all your courses. We devised, and I'm happy to share that with Dr. Anjali, you know, if she would like, we devised what we call an MNI toolkit, multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary toolkit, in which we had rubrics, in which every course and program designer, so that could be the principal or the head of the department, or, you know, the committee that's creating programs and courses, you know, could look at this rubric and fit it in terms of what is the percentage of my program that ticks the boxes as far as multidisciplinarity is concerned. And we kept the disciplinary distance criteria, correct? Then how many of my courses are interdisciplinary? So programs could be multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary. Courses would be interdisciplinary or pure discipline. So for example, if you look at the business economics, if business economics is designed by an economics teacher, taught by an economics teacher, irrespective of where it is, so at a school of economics or at an MBA program or at a energy and environment management or at the School for Liberal Arts, then it's not interdisciplinary because it's taught from the lens of pure economics. But if you have a team, if you have someone who's an MBA or someone who's worked in business, then someone who's, you know, comes from an economics background, and if they are able to sit down, talk to people from industry, let's say for an MBA program, that what is it that you expect your managers to know? Because you're not looking for hardcore economics, right? You're looking for the application of economics in a managerial space. What is it that you want? If they are able to create that course together, then it's becoming interdisciplinary, right? So first is assess all your programs and courses. We actually, a few years ago, said that we put in a minimum range, that all programs must have a minimum of this. So if it's a, let's say it's a law program, then it's governed by the statutory council, right? The Bar Council of India. So therefore we kept it at maybe 20%. An MBA program at a slightly larger one. So we actually have an entire suggested range, correct? Then the designers themselves, the program designers themselves will, and I think Honorable Vice-Chancellor Neelam said this, that, you know, what are your graduate outcomes? And for us, graduate outcomes are not about what they've learned to do or what they've learned how to do, but it's primarily graduate outcomes and learning outcomes that are linked to what you expect them to do once they're out in the real world. So if it's an MBA program, then you're expecting them to enter into, let's say, NGO spaces, social sector, or the corporate sector, and you're expecting them to be able to do X, Y, and Z managerial decision making. If it's a humanities and social science program, let's say it's an MA in urban development, then you're expecting them to be able to do certain other things, right? And that may not only be policy formulation, it might be working with grassroots organizations and, helping advocacy, etc. Correct? So this is the best place to start with. And this took us almost a year to complete the entire exercise across, so many programs. Once we did that, then we looked at what we had. So Symbiosis International University is a multidisciplinary university. It has 8 faculties. So there's a faculty of law, there's faculty of management, there's engineering, there's humanities and social sciences, there's health sciences, there's architecture and design, there's media and communication. So there are 8 faculties, and each faculty had a course catalog, which means that any course that you're thinking of offering today or tomorrow needs to go through, the entire process of approvals, and then it enters into a course catalog. We put all of these 8 course catalogs together and we created a master course catalog. And what we told all the institutes is that if you're running, let's say a master's in medical technology, don't choose courses only from your health sciences catalog. Look at all the courses. Look at your graduate outcomes. Look at your learning outcomes. Look at the challenges that your alumni are facing today. And then we gave open access to everybody. And we said, you must try and take courses. You must try and look beyond that first job. Because traditionally that's what we've done, right? That we look at the first job. That once a student completes my program, will he be able to get a good job? Will they be able to get a good job? And then we don't worry about what's going to happen 5 years later. Correct? At the School for Liberal Arts, we reverse that on our head. And I tell parents that I'm not going to give your students a job. They'll get their job on their own. I said, but we will prepare them for a future. We will give them a great undergrad education that's a good foundation for the next 30 years. We'll teach them everything that they need to know, irrespective of how technology changes and becomes obsolete. And, we don't know what the world is going to look like in 8 years. We have no idea. So we are actually preparing students for a world that we don't know anything about. So this is what we told all program designers, that choose across course catalogs, correct? And just keep your graduate attributes in mind. That what is it? And keep that in mind. Don't keep that first job in mind. So this required a shift in mindset, especially with certain professional programs like an MBA program or an engineering program, where it's very closely linked to what we've been doing all these years. That first job tends to be, the checklist for us. So we said, open up, and this led to a huge, huge, huge change. So what are some of the things that we did? So some of the things that we did is we said, let's increase the multidisciplinarity of a program. So let's introduce more specializations and courses of different disciplines. Again, keeping that disciplinary distance as our criteria. Okay, but let's not lose the core characteristic. That means if it's an MBA in HR, we don't want it to become an MA in psychology, right? But because it's an MBA in HR, an understanding of psychology, an understanding of sociology, an understanding of anthropology is very important. An understanding of law is important. Correct? So we want those elements to come in, but at the same time, we don't want to lose the core characteristic. So this is one of the things. Then we said, let's create interdisciplinary programs that cut across faculties. Till that time, we were working, to be honest, we were working in silos, correct, till about 10 years ago. So the engineering faculty had their program and they worked on their own, and they flirted a little with other faculties, but basically they lived within their lane. In the last 10 years, what we've said is that, branch out. So artificial intelligence, if the engineering faculty wants to do a program in artificial intelligence, then how can you do that without helping your students understand language, understand psychology? So then you're going to have to talk to people from that. And this is something that we've pushed, and the present Vice-Chancellor has pushed very assertively, saying that this is what the world needs. This is what employers are looking for. This is where, solutions. I think, Honorable Vice-Chancellor Kattimani talked about, the fact that you need to move across silos, because most of the research and most of the global challenges that we're trying to solve, they reside at those intersections. So therefore, we pushed for this. We also pushed for a lot of multidisciplinary projects in the program structure itself. So we said, have more projects and have them as multidisciplinary, have ownership coming in from different departments. So you are blessed, you already have 100 departments. You don't need to set them up. All you need to do is you need to have interdisciplinary research clusters or interdisciplinary academic clusters, where, once in 15 days they meet together and they discuss how they can borrow, from each other. And then we increased the number of electives. And we said students can choose from that entire course catalog. So the SIU course catalog, I think right now has around 4,000 courses across all those institutes. Now, obviously, you can't offer all 4,000 because that's not viable. Creating a timetable is going to be crazy. But large number, of courses. Then we also focused a lot on capacity building of faculty, training of faculty. So our Teaching Learning Resource Center did a lot so that pedagogically, faculty were now empowered, trained to be able to now think of how do they bring that into their class? How do they bring it into the way that the teaching, learning, assessment and evaluation? So therefore we said, can you work together? And my school does a brilliant job, with that, where a sociologist and a physicist and a biologist and, maybe someone from maths, they work together. They decide common themes. So for example, they're teaching different subjects, but their second assignment is linked together. And so all the students who've chosen those subjects are actually doing their second assignment together in small little groups. After the pandemic hit, the School for Liberal Arts created a course called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the motto of Symbiosis International University. It basically is about the world is one family. So we decided, let's offer a course online for everyone. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, deans, staff, students, everybody. It was open to everybody. And the Pro-Chancellor used to attend, the Vice-Chancellor, the deans signed up for it and got certificates at the end of it. And what did Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam talk about? And I'm going to share a course outline a little later with you. It was a course that brought together politics, culture, history, spirituality and religion, philosophy, comparative mythology. It brought all of these together. It was designed by a team of teachers and it was taught by a team of teachers. And we've realized that really, and then the fact that you have students from different backgrounds, right? Therefore, the classroom engagement and the discussions and the questions that are asked, automatically people start looking at content very differently, because the minute a law student asks a question, the engineering student says, I would never have thought of that question, but because I've heard that question in class and I've heard an answer, I am looking at content with a very different, through a very different lens. And therefore, this has been a focus. So a lot of capacity building so that faculty, students, etc., can look at courses very, very differently. Our experiences with liberal arts have been since 2005, 2006, when the center was set up, and then 11 and 12, when we set up as a four-year program. To be honest, the liberal arts taught us about multi, inter, and transdisciplinarity from a very different angle. I have been blessed with my team that we've been able to share this with students. One of the reasons why, and you must have noticed that now the number of people announcing liberal arts programs is growing. And it's growing because the program resonates with employers. People who want, I believe, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I believe Ratan Tata once very famously said that, 85% of all Indian graduates, undergraduates, are not really employable. What does that mean? It means that gap between what we're learning in class and what is expected of us as, thinking creatively conscious problem solvers, that gap is huge. And we tried at the liberal arts to create a program that created students. So our graduate attributes were very clear. you've got to contribute to solving social problems. You've got to contribute to local, regional, national, international, whatever. That's your job. Your job isn't to do a job, but your job is to connect the dots, see what's happening. So we focused on that. And it is through the liberal arts that we experimented with big history. Big history is a comparatively new discipline that talks about not just, so normally when we talk of history, we talk about the history of mankind, right? Big history talks about all species, the entire world, the entire universe, the entire cosmos, from the Big Bang, and I'm going to share a slice of the course outline with you. So in 2011-12, we had a normal history course. It was a history of man. In 2013-14, we introduced what we call academic service learning. What is that? So normally service learning is when you do volunteering or you go and work with an NGO or something like that, and then you learn on your own. Academic services learning is when you design for those engagements as part of a course outline. So for example, I teach a course in marketing. It's a marketing management, pure marketing management course. My final assessment is the creation of a marketing plan for an NGO. So students have to choose an NGO which is in the neighborhood. They've got to visit it once a week. It's across 16 weeks. They've got to engage with them. They've got to do research. Everything that I'm teaching in class, which is primarily designed for the corporate sector, they've got to apply it to this NGO. And the NGO could be small, large, whatever. And at the end of it, they've got to sit and they've got to make that presentation to the NGO. And the NGO gives them marks for, yes, I can apply this. So they get an A, or no, this is very theoretical, I can't apply it. The idea was that students understand that whatever you're studying in class has to be applicable. It's got to translate into some value for people. So we introduced that in 2013-14, and we said that every course need not have it, but every course and the team that's teaching it needs to consider it. So with accounting, it's a little more difficult. It's easier with economics, and it's easier with language, and it's easier with physics. It's a little more difficult. So you need to consider it. And then 17-18, we became, so we used to work with the International Big History Association, and we set up the Big History Association of India. And we've been housing that, and we created a course called Humanity and Big History, Our Challenge for Survival. It's a course that was designed by an anthropologist, a historian, and a physicist. And till today, the three of them go into class together. We have realized that when you have interdisciplinary courses, it's very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to find someone who's equally adept at multiple disciplines, right? So therefore, we said if that works, great. But if it doesn't work, then let's bring in multiple people. So therefore, right now, the three of them go in. The first day, it's a little daunting for students because they've got three people, coming in. But by the end of that first week, they realize that those three bring in those multiple perspectives. And that is very, very important. Since 2017-18, we've been launching an international conference on big history, and we've become very passionate about explaining to people why big history is important. But this again taught us that there are multiple ways of bringing in interdisciplinarity, etc. I thought I'll share a little bit, and if Dr. Anjali wants, I can send you the entire course outline. So this is the course. It's a course that is taught. Ours is a 4-year program. It's a 3rd year course. So it's I think it's 5th semester. Yeah, it's a 5th semester course. Afshan is a historian. Priyadarshini is a very well-renowned physicist, and Barry is an anthropologist. And I just want to show you a slice. So one of the units is on the universe, the Big Bang. And that's something that we felt students must know, because they talk about it, they read about it, but many of them actually don't know what the Big Bang is. So therefore, this is one of the chapters in that. And we try to make sure that interdisciplinary aspect and multidisciplinary aspect comes in even with the learning resources. So we're trying to bring in films, we're trying to bring in guest lectures, we're trying to bring in lyrics, popular music sometimes that talks about this. Another topic, another chapter is on cognition and society. So while one of the chapter talks about the Big Bang and the way the universe started, this one's talking about symbols, language, thought, identity, conflict, religion, science, you know, and how kinship language and culture came to be, or, you know, Yuval Noah Harari that everyone is in love with, you know, now, what explains the rise of humans. So we're bringing all of this in. There's another chapter that talks about future scenarios. So what's going to happen? We talk about technology, we talk about, you know, fake news, we talk about the growing incidence of social media, you know, and what does that mean? What's happening to, you know, to cities? Right now, actually, in fact, when Anjali called up that day, we are in a 4-day conference, Changing the World, Community Science and Engagement with Big History. If any of you are interested, you know, you can sign in. It's our experiment with a 24/7 conference. So we started yesterday at 9 o'clock and we're going to end only on Wednesday. So it works around the clock so that people from across, you know, the globe are able to come in. We also experimented with something else. When the School for Liberal Arts was set up in 2011, the Chancellor felt that we had many courses that the typical programs didn't have, right? So therefore, what we did is we created a floating credits program. This is across SIU. And therefore, in the program structures, we said that 12 credits would be kept floating, floating meaning free, okay? And you could do any of, I've just written down a few. So at the UG in 12-13, we said 12 credits free. Students can learn a new sports, or they can participate in sports. They can maybe, you know, represent the university, represent the country, represent the state. They could do a yoga program. They could teach yoga. So either you learn, you practice, or you teach, okay? So whether it's dance, whether it's theater, you could volunteer with an NGO, you could do an IGNU course, you could do a MOOCs, you could do a Swayam, you could work with a startup or set up your own startup. You could be a buddy for international students. You could be a buddy for, we have many students who need some support on the campus, you know, and therefore you could be a buddy, you could be a student tutor. So what we wanted was, or you could do extra courses. You could go walk, look at your timetable, and on the same campus, if there's a law college, and if you're free when they have, let's say, Constitution of India, you could take permission, you could go and join that, and you could complete the course. 16-17, we opened that up to the PG as well. And then since there was a huge demand for this, and then classroom size often gets you know, limited, we said, okay, we will offer these wherever there's a demand, we'll offer these as value added courses. And this has been a huge success. So huge success, because suddenly you realize students are hungry too. I'm doing engineering, but you know, I'd love to do a film appreciation course. Or I'm doing a media program, but I want to learn about digital technologies. I am becoming an MBA, but I want to do a Constitution of India course. So these are some of the things that we've done. I've realized, and I think, you know, Madam Neelam also talked about, you know, what is it that you require for the ecosystem to work? So how does one connect all of these things? I think a lot of capacity building for faculty, a lot of support for students as well. I don't know about your university, but I presume the students are the same everywhere. They'll ask you questions, right? If I'm becoming an engineer, why am I learning about music? What's the connection? Under the FCP program, we did a music program for engineers, and the teacher who was teaching it, it was team taught, was a physicist who's doing research on neural connections that the bird song has. So how do birds learn how to sing? And there are neural networks. This is very strong connection between physics, maths, and music. Now, somebody may want to explore that. Another engineering student might just say, I just love music, and I think I'd like to learn more about it, right? So student support, student counseling. We've created clusters for interdisciplinary research. We're encouraging different programs to come together and do interdisciplinary research, to set up interdisciplinary journals. We went through an entire review of our governance structures, how students come in, how students choose courses, how much freedom do they have, who comes in. I think Honorable Vice-Chancellor Kattimani talked about the fact that someone could come from the run of carts, but he doesn't have your PhD, he doesn't have a net set, but he has huge experience. So therefore, we looked at all of that. We decided to do a multidisciplinary audit of all programs and of all courses, just like you do a gender audit or anything else. We launched interdisciplinary summer schools, not just for our students, but also for our staff. A lot of online programs, a lot of workshops, and we've realized that it's not just the students, it's the faculty and the staff as well, because we've not grown up with this. This is something that now we're learning. We're also working backwards. The students who come to us have already got cemented in terms of ideas because of their schooling. And therefore, we're working with schools in the neighborhood. And we do a wonderful summer school for parents, as well as kids from the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, because you need to start there, and then turn assessments. We've decided that, we have little awards for the most creative assessment and the most creative assignment, assignments that bring in multiple disciplines, multiple intelligences. So these are some of the things that, that we've been doing. I don't know whether it helps or not, but I'm happy to take questions. But I realized that the minute you break, you break out of your silo, or the minute you say, I need to stop thinking like a person who studied marketing, and I need to start thinking like someone who's divorced from disciplinary attachments, just a citizen of the world, and look at problems from that point of view, things suddenly become, and then put a little bit of yourself also. I wish I had been able to do this, when I was studying. I wish I had been able to do this. How can you be creative? Talk to your kids. A lot of ideas that I do in my class come from my children, who will tell me, you haven't seen Game of Thrones, you need to do something that Game of Thrones did. And I say, I haven't seen it. Saying, what are you doing? Why are you teaching undergrads if you're not seeing what they're seeing? You need to learn your technology from there, and you need to learn how things come together. But in short, I'm very excited. The NEP has made me a very happy person, and I am happy to share whatever little experience I have with you. I think on that note, I'm going to stop sharing, and if you have any questions, I'm very happy to take them. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Education becomes wholesome and nourishing only when it is holistic. And this new multidisciplinary and holistic approach mentioned in the policy will see a world's youngest country churning up the brightest minds. Thank you, ma'am, for having offered hope for our nation's glorious future. If we have questions for ma'am. Or maybe we could take the questions of
ask Sir for his presidential.
After that, we can have the questions then.
Yeah.
Okay. It gives me due honor to invite a very erudite and eloquent speaker, our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Parimal Vyas, who single-handedly has been responsible for steering the reins of our glorious university from success to success. Today, sir, through his well-awaited presidential address, will be highlighting on how we are bracing up for these new challenges with enthusiasm. Sir, I invite you to deliver your presidential address.
Thank you, Kamal. At the outset, on behalf of the university, we place on record a deep sense of gratitude because it is difficult to get Professor Kattimani. Let us be very honest. He, in fact, there's hardly a day passes where we would not interact. That is a kind of a support, such a senior academician. Second, Professor Grewal, I think I would appreciate the efforts that you put in. It was a very, very lucid presentation. Whatever that she shared based on her experience, practice, and then she also added emotions into it. So it was wonderful to listen to you. And the last one was learning by doing, I would say, if I have to put it. All my faculty members who are here, especially from Faculty of Family and Community Science, sometimes we are in our own ivory towers. Let us realize the fact. We feel that no, we are the best, and I'll be very honest, as a Vice-Chancellor of any university, there are more than 1100 universities and you find 1100 Vice-Chancellors. So not a big deal, but then can you make a difference? If I have to summarize what Dr. Anita was making a presentation, is that, are you there to make a difference in the lives of the student? And I'm very happy. We must appreciate Honorable Prime Minister. You see I would say that on one hand, he's talking about making India to revive manufacturing sector, and supported with startup, hackathon, and a series of initiatives. On the other hand, today I was reading in the newspaper, now how do we relate whatever that we do in a classroom? As that, it was shocking to me. A Gujarati newspaper reports the number of cases of divorce which have come down drastically in the Muslim community. You imagine, to me, that legislation is a social innovation that has come. Now that is a very nice integration of, the legislation, governance, and then the execution part of it. I hope we all have started. We know the role that the press play in our country. Let's be very honest about it. But then also, I would say that we all have started feeling Naya Ladakh, Naya Kashmir. And then the whole mission is focusing on New Bharat. And it is not survival of the fittest now, survival of the fastest. Dr. Anita several times have been, reiterating on two buzzwords. One is the innovation and second is value-driven offering. And I think it was a very nice blend of presentation you have. If somebody will have to, reflect upon these holistic and what we call overall growth, because we are talking multidisciplinarity. And Dr. Anita, I'm very sorry to share with you how many teachers, they really understand the logical difference between interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, and transdisciplinarity, which you were talking about. I think that is the challenge. And I would say, who is responsible for these unawareness? Then I think we are responsible. I would accept that, yes, I'm responsible for that. We really do not pose confidence in our young students, young faculty members, where they can really make a difference. But I'm very happy. And probably I wish Professor Anjali, one humble request, because Uma is also here. I could see the, I was continuously listening to you. One small request which I make on behalf of the university is that you please share a presentation with Professor Anjali Karoli. And I would request Professor Anjali, you share it with the Dean's group. Okay. See, even if we, like whatever honorarium, even if we give or we invite her by flight and she comes here, it is difficult, to pay back. I think that is what we as teachers, and I'll tell you, sometimes I get very few people who know. I could find, I was getting a lot of energy and enthusiasm. She wanted to tell us so much. I think she could share only 10% of what they have done. That's what my way of looking at it. Not to flatter you, but I know you would surprise a cross-reference if, I don't know how many of you could recollect. Dr. Anita, when we started talking about national education policy, two faculty awards dean in the whole group, I said that you please go and look at the website of the Symbiosis liberal arts. In the national education policy, we are going to talk about liberal arts. And all my colleagues who are listening to me, I would request all of you with folded hands, those faculties which we have set up does not make us Meru. It is how we are going to, decide what set of activities we are going to have in near future. Dr. Anita, the greatest problem that I face, I will tell you, we have one postgraduate program called Master of Commerce. And Faculty of Commerce, in fact, it was a challenge for me because I was a dean. We requested them to move over from annual pattern to semester. We did semester to CBCS. We did, but postgraduate, they offer specialization. And I know what happens, how we kill the career of students. In fact, I would request Anjali Karoli also, because we have created this departmental regime, which I want it should get collapsed as early as possible. I still find a lot of resistance, food and nutrition versus clothing and textile. I think, can we survive without food? No. Can we survive without clothes? No. Can we survive without family? No. Can we, you look at the departments which you have, I want all 5 departments, they have to have their pervasive impact. Why only social service? Why only social work? Look at these 5 family and community resource. Look at the rate of divorce that we are getting. We have Professor, Sagufa. We have Department of Human Development Studies. Now, I think I would say that all those senior people, where they have developed this university with the departments which they were set up at that point of time, these were the new concepts, theories have not evolved, and probably we were correct. But now time has come that all departments, I think I wish we should remove the concept of departments. And if we really want to, because I'll tell you, see, this is very interesting. Today in the morning, we were listening to Honorable Minister of State Sarkarji. See, when we talk about higher education and multidisciplinary education, it is educating the whole person. And I would say that I would request all my colleagues who are sitting here that what part of personality we try to develop, what kind of values we try to inculcate, what kind of cultural values we try to imbibe. I would say we are responsible for developing, inculcating physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and psychological, well-being of each and every student who come to us to realize his or her dream and passion.
अभी ठीक हो गया. मेरे को गर्म पानी दे दो मेरी बॉटल का.
The challenge before us is, can we integrate body, mind, soul and intellect? One of the important challenge when you're talking about holistic education and multidisciplinary education, Professor Kattimani was giving a reference of sociology. I would say, you name the department, Dr. Anita, we have the expertise. We have the expertise. But what we lack, let me say, I would not say lack. Probably we are also responsible because we have compartmentalization. We lack openness, we lack transparency, we lack constructive criticism, and we always find faults with the governance. I'm very sorry to say. I'm praying God that somewhere in future, if I'll get an opportunity, I'll work in a private university where you get a lot of opportunity for experimentation. As a Vice-Chancellor of a state university, you have to deal with those people to whom you would not even allow to enter into your campus, but they are the people who decide. I'm talking about precisely academic autonomy, isn't it? They want to standardize, and I'm very sorry, with the information technology revolution, we want to standardize it more. We were lucky until earlier, the information was not reaching to them, so they were not interfering. They were not knowing what we are doing in the university. All teachers, I request you be prepared. This kind of interference, Dr. Anita, your institute can take a study what kind of political interferences started after the revolution of information technology. I'm sorry to say, I have my constraints on many things because I'm sitting in a chair, so I do not enjoy that privilege which you people have. But I always believe as a teacher, I'm a teacher first, rest everything follows. If you monitor from the capital of a state whether teacher is engaged in a class or not, I'm very sorry what kind of value we are going to cultivate. We have to trust teacher. I think in education, the first thing that comes above all is the trust. If I don't trust my students, if I don't trust my colleagues, if I don't trust people who work with me, I don't think no technology, no thought process, no research would be able to save us and would be able to take it further. So I'm taking a different route. See, basically, when we talk about holistic education and multidisciplinary education, above all, I believe God has given us, all of us are useful. I always say each and every teacher who is in a campus of MSUB, they all have potential. They have not just come automatically. They carry potential. They have passed through a process, and I think it is our failure if we cannot make use of them in, helping the students and realizing and shaping the career of students. One of the important challenge which I believe we all need to address is what we call global citizenship. I think that's very, very important. I thought, let me just reflect on those areas on which all three speakers have not talked about. Global citizen is something which I think, let me just relate. The resources that we use in our country, they are not owned by us. The water of a river which is flowing, it comes from Pakistan or it comes from some other states. Now, all those issues have started coming on surface. We talk about liberal relationship. What about the resources? I think there are some global challenges that we face, and if collectively we would not raise these, if you will not try to understand, I think the whole world is going to pay price. Some of the videos that we get on climate change, they are mind-boggling. They disturb our sleep. If we look at the kind of the calamities which is taking place globally, and I'll tell you, I'm very sorry. What disappoints me is the self-centered approach. I want to become a professor. I want to become a PhD guide. I want to become this, that. But okay, everything is fine. But I think how much you're giving back. Now that's very important. I believe it's a wonderful idea. And Dr. Anita, we follow the principles of Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. That is Maharaja, Sayajirao, University of Baroda. Truth, godliness, and beauty. So then I think there are some prescriptions which I would like to make, because the whole idea with which we are celebrating this 1 year of NEP, I would like to put forward certain ideas. Because I in fact I told all my deans that we really don't want to understand. We know what is holistic. We know what is multidisciplinary. I'm very happy. This presentation would clarify many of the doubts of my younger colleagues. But then how do we implement? Now the question is, how do we implement? How do we go for holistic education? How do we adopt multidisciplinary? I'm working on 3 documents. And I would request all my deans over here, if they are listening to me. One is the academic bank of creditors come. Second is the internationalization of higher education. And third is multiple entry and multiple exit. As a Vice-Chancellor, maybe in another 15 days, I'm going to prepare a report and I'm going to invite all my colleagues, and I would ensure that ordinances would get revised. If we will not work, who will work? And let us, within the framework of law, we will have to create opportunities for faculties and students. So if you want to go for these holistic education and multidisciplinary approach, number one is, I would say the foremost requirement is sharing of resources. I want that, Dr. Anita, why you cannot take a course, and let your course registration happens not just in MSU, but globally. You can have students from all parts of world, and let Dr. Anita share her experiences. And there will be a long queue. All of us were very patiently listening to Professor Grewal, Kattimani ji, and to Dr. Anita ji. I think I've told my colleagues that. So what we need to do? This is one example I have given of Dr. Anita ji. I'm talking about sharing of resources. Every time we introduce a course, Dr. Anita, they would ask for physical infrastructure, IT infrastructure. I think, I'm sorry, we have to learn to share resources. That is the most important requirement. You cannot have as many departments, as many libraries, as many teachers, as many supporting staff. I think that is not going to work. We need to change our entire mindset with the way we use resources, and we have to make smart use of information technology, isn't it? Online resources, e-resources. I think so that is what I was talking about, sharing of resources. That's what I want. That's the first prescription that I would like to make in this webinar. Second is, what we need is collaborative approach. This is the need of the hour. I think in every institution there are world-class teachers. Every institution, every department, there are world-class teachers. Are we really making use of their world-class expertise? I'm sorry, not even nearby institutions. Such a good job which your department is doing. How many other universities? Because Pune is an education hub. Now we know. Can you imagine the round-the-clock conference which you are narrating? I think it's something very, very important, which I believe the generation of teachers will have to realize, that you are in an education and you mean it. The third thing which I would like to share based on my understanding is, we need to have an integrated approach. And 3 words, as you all know, you have already talked about it, but I would say outcome-based education. Designing a course is not you write down some lines here and there. I hope, because I'm addressing to the very senior colleagues of Faculty of Family and Computer Science, I know in this faculty they are quite sincere in designing an academic program. How do we design? I think we should have a workshop when we want to design an academic program. And each and every concept that we write, each and every theory that we teach. I'm very happy because Professor Adya is with us, because she is the one who is going to get, the challenge. I told her that it is her faculty which is going to get maximum advantage if she can, the team of arts, faculty of arts can capitalize upon. It requires an integrated approach. We have to be a part of solution. Let's not constrain. Let's not go to Vice-Chancellor. Let's not go to Government of Gujarat. Let's create resources which we want for our own, for our students and other stakeholders. And I think we'll put efforts. I'm sure my experience makes me to say we would get the support. Then I think the another one is that we also need to address what I think is very important, because you're talking holistic. What are the 21st century skills and capabilities? I would not elaborate, but I would say, I would raise this 21st century skills and capabilities. What are the skills that we are talking about? Value education. We are talking about ethics. You know, one can talk extensively on those two dimensions. But let us remember, we are in, yesterday, Government of Gujarat celebrated Jnana Shakti Divas. I think you imagine the realization even at the government level that now we are in the 21st century, which is a knowledge century. So I think we have to make students to think on what to think, how to think, why to think. And we need to focus upon these. And one area which on which I would like to reflect would be, we really need to engage into one area which is missing in our entire higher education system. I hope all of you would agree. Luckily, our university is very strong, but only 10% it happens. 10%. We have got 47,000 students, but only 10% students, even less than 10% students participate. And I think we are working on it. We'll have to work on a war footing. And that is social and ethical engagement. On one day, if I talked about global citizenship, the another one on which I would like to talk about is the social and ethical engagement. I think each and every department, each and every faculty will have to think on one hand, we'll have to look at global citizenship, and on the other hand, we will have to look at social and ethical. I was very happy to listen to you. You talked about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Yeah, that's fine. How can we retain what we have and how can we adopt what we don't have? Now that I think that is why I talked about the integration. And lastly, what I believe, if somebody would ask me what is the most important roadblock in the implementation of national education policy, I would say teacher. I'd be very, very blunt in saying that. Why? Because I would design a course which I am capable of teaching. I fall in love with those courses. I fall in love with those specialization. I fall in love with those thirst area. पूरी दुनिया बदल गई, मैं नहीं बदलना चाहता क्योंकि मुझे प्यार हो गया है. We are really not ready to challenge our own selves. I was very happy क्यों आपने बिल्कुल जो मैं कहता हूँ आपने कहा. मुझे सबसे ज्यादा भरोसा मेरे असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर्स पे है और सबसे कम भरोसा प्रोफेसर्स पे है, क्योंकि there is no motivation for them to work. Please don't feel bad. This is an informal sharing we have. भरोसा का मतलब don't misunderstand me. वो जो काम करने की, रिस्क लेने की, आगे बढ़ने की जो ताकत है, मेरा भी मैं कहता हूँ, I will also say, I am also a part of it. We are in the final phase of our life. लेकिन मैं ऐसा मानता हूँ कि if we provide them an opportunity, if we trust them, if we believe in them, and I think that is what, if we can create a kind of a climate. I just spent half an hour, but I would appreciate my senior colleagues, my deans, my professors. हमारे यहाँ we have got the best of the people to come and talk, and I think it was a treat. अंजलि करोलिया जी, आपकी फैकल्टी का स्टैंडर्ड अच्छा ही है और मुझे बहुत ज्यादा अपेक्षा है आपसे, और मैं मानता हूं कि आने वाले वक्त में, because they have a strong research, they have a strong alumni, they have a strong brand loyalty. तो एक ऐसी फैकल्टी है जिसमें I would say एक टीम अच्छा काम कर रही है.
Thank you, sir.
As a whole. No, I'll tell you, because it is not. भाई सरकार ने कहा एक वेबिनार करो, वो इसलिए हम वेबिनार नहीं कर रहे. सरकार को तो जो कहना कहे, हम इसीलिए कह रहे कि हमको और जानकारी मिले, हम नए लोगों की नई पर्सपेक्टिव से देखें, हमें पता चले कि ये चीज हम नहीं कर रहे जो आप लोग कर रहे. I think the best practice is to learn from the best practice of the world's best university. So it was wonderful to listen to all of you, and I always say before I close that only those people should come to education where they want to give and forgive. ये बहुत important है. If you want to give and if you want to forgive, then be a part of education. बाकी आपको पैसा कमाना है, you want to enjoy world class leisure, then you go to corporate, go to some other organizations, but not the education sector. It's a lifetime opportunity which Honorable Prime Minister has given to us. And I'm very happy. Whatever little that we have been able to do in MSU is because of the team of my deans, team of my heads of the department, senior professors. और मैं मानता हूं कि we can, in fact, we are working to bring upon a paradigm shift in the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. So I'm quite happy. I have not moved out for even a minute. Of course, I was listening to you and I was doing some other work also. But I think it was a treat to listen to beloved Kattimani ji, Grewal ji and Dr. Anita ji. I believe आज का वेबिनार बहुत सारे लोगों के लिए काफी सीनियर लोग हैं. मैं आप सबको अप्रिशिएट करता हूं क्योंकि आप 2 साल पढ़ोगे तो नहीं पता चलेगा इतना उन्होंने 1 घंटे में आपको समझा दिया है. I think a long way to go and I wish Professor Anjali that you please stay in touch with them. जब कोरोना भी खत्म होने आया है तो एक वर्कशॉप आप करिए. I wish that all deans should do कि faculty of family and community science में multidisciplinary approach के लिए क्या करना चाहिए. I think 3-4 deans can come forward, 3-4 heads of the department can come forward. बराबर है ना. जैसे अभी मैं उमायर जी को देखता हूँ, लॉ सबको पढ़ना चाहिए. एक भी स्टूडेंट मेरी यूनिवर्सिटी में ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए जिसको लॉ नहीं आता है, लॉ नहीं पढ़ा है उसने, बिजनेस नहीं पढ़ा है उसने, फाइनेंस नहीं पढ़ा है उसने, सोशियोलॉजी नहीं पढ़ा है उससे इंडियन हिस्ट्री नहीं पढ़ा है. आर यू गेटिंग मी? And then I think that would provide an opportunity to student कि उसको पता लगेगा कि मेरे में ये काबिलियत है, मुझे इस रास्ते में आगे चलना है. I think so it's wonderful. That's the purpose of these. Today I'm very happy because the purpose with which we have been organizing this webinar, at least I feel satisfied कि नहीं चलिए अच्छा काम हो रहा है. And I wish those who have missed Anjali Karolia ji, we should share the these presentation. I think हम करते ही है इसको YouTube चैनल पे हम लगाएंगे, हमको Facebook पे भी लोग सुन रहे हैं. तो on behalf of the university, I would appreciate, place on record the support of Kattimani ji, Grewal ji and Dr. Anita ji. Thank you for a very patient listening. And before I close, I always say that I always love those people who criticize me, क्योंकि उससे ही आगे हम बढ़ते हैं. We get inspiration. Let's be ready for the constructive criticism. लेकिन साथ में we have to be on the part of the solution rather than on the part of the problem. समस्या का समाधान हम क्या कर सकते हैं? मेरे ख्याल से सबसे ज्यादा आविष्कार की जरूरत इस दिशा में है कि हम समस्या का समाधान कैसे हम दे सकते हैं. तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. और जितने भी लोग यहाँ जुड़े हैं मेरे साथ उन सबको भी मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा. Namaskar. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. That was our dignified Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Parimal Vyas, encouraging us as always through his well-measured words and inspirational tone and tenor. We assure you, sir, that we are in this journey together and will put in our best foot forward to realize the cornerstones of NEP 2020. Thank you so much, sir. If we have any questions, participants, you could post the questions in the chat box, or you could even...
With the Honorable Vice-Chancellor's permission, may I just respond?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say, sir, that once the pandemic gets done, we will be more than happy if any of your deans or young faculty or anybody wants to come down, to Symbiosis. We have a nice hostel, for visiting faculty. We're very happy to do that. And like I said, my sister and brother-in-law went to your university. They did their master's and their PhD there. I would be very happy, forget about honorarium and all. We're all in it together. I'm very happy to come along with I also have some wonderful faculty. We're very happy to come. Let's do something collaborative, Dr. Anjali. We're very happy to do that. So thank you so much.
I also, request you, please explore the, collaborations, meaningful collaborations.
So we'll
that is
go
one
on
of the
with-
purpose. That is one of the purpose. Yeah.
I have been connected with Symbiosis for their PhD program in design. So we've been, and that's how I got her, actually.
Oh, no, that's very, no, it was wonderful. I think blessings of God, no, that's wonderful.
Okay, so I think we could end and we can have more discussions later then within our faculty and within our university and with the other departments.
Yes, ma'am. So if there are no more questions, may I now request Professor Komal Chauhan, convener IQAC, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shonima. Good evening, all the dignitaries, guests, dean of the faculties, heads of the department, other faculty members, and my dear students watching us on and listening to us on Zoom platform as well as on our university Facebook page. I find myself privileged to have this and perform this duty. To Professor T.V. Kattimani, sir, Honorable Vice-Chancellor at Central Tribal University of Andhra Pradesh, my heartfelt gratitude to him. In spite of his busy schedule and travel plans, he made the rearrangements and accepted our invitation. He gave us insight in various academic programs, especially tribal and digital learning. Also showed that with NEP, flexible learning with contingency plans and approach for learners is a very important factor for better outcome. Thanks to Professor Kattimani. My profound respect and gratitude to Professor Neelam Grewal, Madam, Honorable Vice-Chancellor at Guru Kashi University. Most apt person for the topic, and her profile itself is so multidisciplinary. Her views on integrating various sectors, may it be cultural, health, agricultural, and especially her emphasis on cluster approach in collaborations and experiential learning, was worth understanding and uplifting ourselves. Thank you, Madam. Dr. Anita Patankar, Madam, please accept my gratitude. She is such a dynamic personality in the field of education. Her views on having open course catalog and vast experience in international and national education platform have enriched us today. Thank you, Madam, for your invitation also to visit you. Our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Parimal, Vyas, you are always a torch bearer to us. May it be any academic or research or extension activity, your encouragement and faith in us has supported at every step of upliftment. Thank you for your presidential address, and thank you for giving our faculty a chance to conduct this webinar on behalf of Faculty of Family and Community Sciences. Thank you. Dr. B.S. Chakravarti, sir, as Director IQAC and otherwise also, he and his team has shown his full support always to our faculty and our activity. Thank you for everything. In spite of a family member being very ill, he gave his moral support to all of us. Our Dean, Professor Anjali Karolia, Madam. My team joins me to tell you thank you so much, Madam, for giving us all freedom and guiding us whenever approached. Even if it is late evening or early morning or on a holiday, she's always there to help us and guide us and show us the right path. Thank you, Madam. A big thank you to my faculty IQAC core committee members, Dr. Varsha, Ms. Garima, and Ms. Sapna, for that untiring task taken into consideration for any moment of the day. My technical team, Dr. Shonima, Dr. Megha, Dr. Jigisha, Dr. Falguni, Ms. Nikita, and Mr. Pratik, and the other admin staff for all the support rendered towards the arrangement of the webinar. Thank you to our University Communications Cell Director and his team members for their media coverage and support. Thank you to all the deans, heads, guests, faculty members, and students for their participation, as well as putting up the nice comments towards the webinar. Thank you to Dr. Arun Anu for handling the Zoom link and FB coverage. Thanks to Almighty God for showing us the successful path of life with all upliftment as and when required. So here we had NEP 2020, implementation of multidisciplinary approach and holistic education. Thank you all for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Yeah. Thank you so much, Neelam, Anita. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for always being there. We'll stay in
close.
touch. Yeah.
So much, ma'am. With this, we wind up the program. Okay.